Really?
Yep. All right. All right, everyone. Welcome back to Bridge the Gap podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Scott.
And this is our second episode ever. Real quick, I did just want to add that thank you guys for all the positive feedback we've gotten so far. All my friends who have reposted on their stories and all my dad's friends that have reposted it and followed along so far. Thank you. We're very excited to go on this journey.
Yeah.
And we go ahead.
I was just agreeing with you.
I also just wanted to let you guys know that we will be posting on Fridays. I'm still working on the Spotify thing. I'm still having to get a few things cleared, but we will be posting on Fridays pretty consistently. So you guys can watch it at any time over the weekend or catch up whenever you guys can during the week.
Yeah. And I think the other, like, just to piggyback on the thanks. So one of the things that we will do and continue to do is post little 30-minute clips from our episodes and post them on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and maybe X. I posted on my story on X before, but on the Facebook page, one of the little clips that we posted had over 1,000 views already. So it's pretty cool that people are looking. I don't know 1,000 people.
Me neither.
So between all of us and the whole family, I don't know if we know 1,000 people. So the fact that people are looking and seeing, and we've received some really good feedback. Some of it was technical, so hopefully I sit up better today and I speak better into the microphone. And then some of it was just very supportive. And one of the things that we did get feedback on the first episode was that it was kind of jumped around a little bit, and hopefully everybody understands that was a little intentional, so you could kind of see how my daughter and I engage and communicate and spin things off of each other and just how we engage. That was 100% natural. We're not scripting any of this, but we are going to try and tackle a topic every week and get it completed from a discussion standpoint. So that way, you know, if there's somebody out there who's a daughter or a dad that needs to talk to their daughter or dad about something and they don't know how, maybe that's a topic we covered, right? So that's how we're going to try and do that. But listen, I mean, we could talk about all sorts of stuff, right? 4th of July weekend. We can talk about the Diddy case. And then today the DOJ said that there's no Epstein list or something. And there's just crazy, crazy topics that we can talk about that are from two different perspectives. Lauren is a Gen Z and me as a Gen X, right?
Especially that college case, the Idaho college kids case,
right.
How he pled guilty. Don't even get me started.
Right. So we're gonna hit on stuff, and sometimes something's gonna come up that's super topical, and we might just run with it, and that's the episode. And then other times, maybe there's something that we want to talk about purposefully that may not be a thing that's really relevant right this second, but maybe it shaped us, or maybe it shaped how we talk to each other or how we engage as a family or whatever. So hopefully you guys find that entertaining, and hopefully we continue to be entertaining. And certainly we're not trying to compete with, you know, the comedian podcasts that are all out there, because they're way funnier than we are. But well, maybe
speak for yourself. I'm actually hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. I've been told I'm kind of funny, thank God. But we hopefully will find that niche, and you'll find that part edit of any podcast that's entertaining and something that's engaging. So anyway, just thank you guys for all the feedback and support. 1,000 views on a 30-second clip on Facebook is pretty cool. And I know we've had several people watch the thing on YouTube as well, on our actual YouTube channel. So I don't have those numbers, Lauren. You have those. Maybe.
Yeah, I totally checked that before we started the episode.
All right, so there's one thing. Make sure you're prepared. There's a father-daughter thing for everyone to take into account.
I check the socials. I just don't like to obsess over it, because if I sit there and I'm constantly checking numbers, then it'll get in my head. So I am aware that we have at least 60 to 70 views on the YouTube channel, and that's really good considering that we did talk for quite a while.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
But one thing we could totally go into all the court cases recently because but the one thing that I did want to make sure we talked about today that we kind of touched on last episode, and after the episode, we looked at each other and we were like, we need to talk about that more. Like, and that was COVID, which
I hate that word.
I know, but it did play such a vital part, especially in my adolescence and young adult years in human interaction and how the fallout has been for my generation since then.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk about that for hours.
Yeah. And yeah, I was a very loud advocate against the way that we handled that as a country, maybe even as a world. I lost some friends over it. Well, not real friends, but the electronic digital kind. But it definitely, not that I want to be right, because in this instance, it doesn't really do me any good, right? But I did question a lot of the stuff that has now come out to be truthful, right? Where it came from, how it was deployed, hidden, the vaccine efficacy. I said a long time ago that the fallout from how we handled it was going to have far larger ramifications to deal with than the actual virus itself. And and now now it's all come out about doctors being paid for diagnosing it that way, and the people that invest in the vaccine, and how Fauci has come out and been proven that he really didn't know what the heck he was doing, and that mask didn't work. He just thought it might work, and all of that stuff. So, but from a social arrangement, for me, it was huge, because internally I just disagreed with it completely, but I had to adjust to do it because I didn't have any choice, right? I didn't want to be the person that's on the news yelling at this poor person in Target for not wearing a mask, right? Like I wasn't a disruptor that way, right? But it changed my job. It changed everything. I was on the road in 2019, I think 47 weeks out of 52. And then the first part of 2020 was the same thing. And then boom, shut down, work from home, change your job, change what you do, change how you do it, change who you talk to. That was brutal. And then dealing with your little brother who was in elementary school trying to learn on this computer, and then you starting your high school year. It was your first year of high school. So
yeah.
So anyway, I know that's a lot of me talking, but yeah, with you, obviously you and I have talked about this before, but maybe there's something that I didn't know and how you dealt with it, because the one thing I can say is I've never had to deal with anything like that before, as no one else had. Right. So I think we just did the best we could, but I couldn't imagine being 14, 15, 10, trying to figure out what in the world. I mean, you guys are just trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
From a very elementary standpoint, right? I still don't know totally who I am, and I'm 50, right? But it's a constant thing. But those years are so critical, and the impact was huge. And I talked to a lot of my friends whose kids have not recovered socially, right? Like they still struggle with social engagements and social interactions. Some had to go to different schools when they went back, et cetera, et cetera. Luckily, we didn't have to deal with that with you, but I'm sure there was a lot of that was going on.
Yeah. So from the strictly, like, to go back to your medical standpoint at the beginning, it definitely was strange because regardless of how it was handled, it was scary at the beginning because we didn't have any idea of how to treat it. We didn't understand it. So the whole mask thing, if you kind of look into the history of why we started doing that, it kind of takes you back to the 1920s when the Spanish flu was going around. And obviously, medicine was very different back then, but that was a precautionary measure that they took to try to slow the spread of the virus. So even though the masks were annoying, to say the least, by the way, guys, playing softball in 95-degree weather with a mask on is absolute torture, in case anybody's curious. But
well, how about your brother playing soccer wearing a freaking mask outside, even though he and his opponent were face to face, bumping heads and bodies together.
And in softball, we're already hot because it's the middle of July, and we're wearing sliding shorts, cotton pants, cotton socks, and you're sharing the same ball.
Right.
So if anybody has it, we're already screwed.
Right.
But I digress.
Anyway.
The main point is the social aspect. And I remember, I feel like for my generation, it was kind of like the Challenger explosion or the 9/11. Like March 13th, I remember sitting in my high school 101 class with one of my classmates that I had known since childhood. We're watching CNN 10 because we had to. It was like part of the curriculum. And they were talking about it. And we were all making jokes about it. All of us, because we're 14 years old.
Right.
You think we're going to take this serious? And then I remember going home that day. It was a Friday. I remember going home, and on that following Sunday, I said out loud in the living room, I really don't want to go back to school tomorrow. 2 hours later, the email came out saying that we were not going back for 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, dope. Like, extended spring break, let's go. And then 2 weeks later came the, hey, by the way, you're not coming back at all. And I was like, all right, hold on. Because, you know, as a kid, you look at high school as like this amazing time, right? Ever since I was younger, I'd watch the high schoolers come off the bus. During Halloween, I'd be excited to give the high schoolers candy after I was done with my rounds. Like, high school was so untouchable, and I'd finally made it. And then COVID shut down, and high school was never the same again. And especially being at a new high school. So for anyone that doesn't know, I was part of the first 4 class to go all 4 years through the high school, because the high school opened my freshman year of high school. So all of our school spirit was just starting to build. We were excited to be Catawba Ridge, the new high school in town, the high school everybody wanted to go to. We had so much school spirit. And then COVID happened. And our high school had some of the best programs. Chorus, theater, art, news, sports. We had some of the most notable clubs and athletics in the town. And nobody was excited about it because COVID happened and Catawba Ridge didn't really get to discover its identity. And so I was proud of my high school.
I think.
Yeah, and I was proud of my high school, obviously, but because I was part of some of those fantastic programs. But there's a lot that is lacking now. There's no school spirit. There's no appreciation. There's no dedication. And it goes into the student body as well, because now the people in high school were in elementary, middle school, which makes me like sick to even wrap my head around. They didn't build up any school spirit either. So, and their behavior, I mean.
Yeah. Well, that could be a whole nother topic, right? I think the relatable thing is, I remember I was in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I was, you know, all the rumblings were out there, right? And I was like, man, I hope we don't overreact to this. I hope we don't overreact to this. Because for anybody that didn't know, coronavirus was already out there, right? If you look on the back of your wipes, it says coronavirus. Well, back then it said coronavirus. Obviously, I understand before all the haters come in, it was a different strand. I know it was a different strand. But I was like, please don't overreact to it. Like, we can't we can't freak out, right? And of course we did, but I remember getting the email saying, hey, after this week, no more travel. And I was like, oh, right? Then we went to your softball game that night, and we were all joking about it. Man, this might be the last game. And it turned out it was
The last
for
game.
high school. And so it was weird, right? And for me, like, it was weird because this was 5 years ago, right? So I was a grown man with a family, right? And we were building a pool. Not to sound, ooh, look at us, but I signed the contract in September of 2019. And then I was worried about losing my job because my job was a travel support role, not a bottom line driving role. And I've got this pool being built, and I've got my kids that don't understand what's going on. I'm an introverted person, but professionally, I'm an outgoing person. I work more from home now than I used to, and it's not my favorite thing to do. I'd rather be out and about and working alongside people. And all of a sudden I'm at home and trying to find the discipline to stay here, trying to stay busy. I remember even emailing my boss going, hey, I've got an idea on how we could do something. And he's like, I really appreciate your drive, but we are shut down. You are not doing anything. There's nothing for you to do. And I was like, what do you mean there's nothing for me to do? So when I should have been enjoying time off, right? Because I was on the road all the time.
Right.
I didn't enjoy it at all. Like, I should have enjoyed being home with you and your brother and your mom. Didn't, not to say I didn't enjoy it, but I didn't seek ways to enjoy it, right? It's not like we played more board games as a family or anything.
That's
right?
because our family can't handle board games.
I know, we're too competitive.
All of us.
But it was hard. And then trying to figure out how to help you guys. And, there's another generational gap. They teach way different now than they taught when I was younger. The tools that they have, obviously, we didn't have, right? We had overhead projectors and chalkboards, legitimately. Like, we didn't have dry erase boards in my high school when I was, that age. It was chalkboards, and it was overhead projectors, and it was...
But we had overhead projectors when I was in elementary school.
Right.
Like the one where you lay it on the clear spot.
Yeah, and
you turn on the light, and it shines, and it...
Screen.
Yeah.
Of course.
We had those, too. We had the TVs you rolled in on the cart.
That was the best day ever if you walked into class
best
and you
day
saw
ever.
the TV, right? So there's
Magic
some things that don't change, right? There's some things that don't change. That excitement and that fun. But, I'm sitting here trying to read your lesson plan for some class, and I'm like, I don't even understand what that means, And
I'll never forget the nights in elementary school when I'd bring home math homework. If anyone doesn't know me, I hate math. I'm really, really bad at it. Like, to the point where, like,
because they taught it terribly.
Let me finish. You're stealing my story.
I know, I'm just saying.
I hated math, could never grasp it. I'm an English brain, okay? I would come home and I would sit at the dining room table, and the rule in my house, which I was pretty good at, was you did your homework before you went out to play. So I'd come home from school at 3:00 and immediately sit down and start doing homework. And there were some nights my mother would just take pity on me and let me go outside and play until Dad got home from work, because when I was in elementary school, for a little bit, he worked at Target, and then he was at CarMax in store. So I had to wait for him to come home, and we would sit there after dinner and I would be sobbing my eyes out because my dad would be like, Lauren, it's this easy. And I'd be like, but I can't turn it in that way. And that was that Common Core bullshit.
Ugh.
And it ruined math.
Ruined math.
Not to get off another tangent.
Right.
To go back.
Well, can I defend myself, though?
Well, you weren't like yelling at me.
Okay,
you were frustrated with the way they were teaching it.
Thank you. I just want to clarify that because there's family that will listen to this. And if my dad, who was a friggin' genius mind, and who was math all the way, man, he would make my sister and I cry because he would get so mad he would yell at us. And it wasn't because of the way they taught it. It was just because I didn't get it. And my dad would get so mad. It was like the hold the flashlight moment, right? Like I'd start drifting off and he would yell at me for that. And
Your hand starts moving.
My dad was a great guide, so I hope nobody gets that the wrong idea. But he, different times he would yell at me. Like I didn't yell at you. I yelled at the way they were teaching it. So
yeah. Although I did have a few flashlight moments in my childhood where you did yell at me.
Of course. Well, I'm supposed to. But anyway, to get back to
hold the flashlight. I'm trying.
But the good thing, and hopefully people can relate, is I don't know if I ever have talked to you about the struggle that I went through, right? And that goes back to why we do this, right? As a parent, your kids look to you for everything. If you're a good parent, right? Hopefully. And we're supposed to be the experts, right? We're supposed to have you. We're supposed to guide you. We're supposed to expose you to things to learn, challenge you. And here we are. And I'm not going to lie, Lauren, I was in the same boat as you, and I was 30 years older than you. I had no freaking idea what to do. I had no idea. All I know is that for my birthday that year in April, my friends came over and we sat in my driveway 6 feet apart. Right?
Yeah.
And now I look back at it and the memories come up on our Facebook memories. I'm like, God, look how stupid we look. Because I didn't agree with it then. So it just accentuates my anger towards that time. Right. And once again, I hope anybody that's listening, I'm not saying that it wasn't real. I'm not saying that people did not pass away because of it or suffer. COVID's a bad word for me. I don't think I've even drank a Corona since then. Just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. But I didn't know what to do. And so when you guys were coming and you were frustrated because I want to go do this, or I want to hang out with so-and-so, and why can't I? Like that why question, right? When you're a kid, you ask why questions all the time, thousands of them a day. And 99% of the time I had a good answer for them. Right. And if not, I faked it because you'd forget anyway.
No, you'd fake it and then hit the because I said so. It's bullshit.
So, even though we talk about highlighting the differences in Bridging the Gap, this is one of those where your experience was similar to mine in the unknown. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
So from my perspective of COVID, right? At first it was really cool. And a lot of my generation will talk about how the summer of COVID was like our 80s summer. Everybody was outside. Everybody was riding bikes. Everyone was socializing. Like it was really good for a while. And I mean, once I got done with my work for the day, I was out in the neighborhood with all the neighborhood kids until 10 o'clock at night. I wouldn't even come home for dinner. We would all just be hanging out. But people got comfortable with the circles they created during COVID. So when they went back to school, everything was different. And it affected me differently too, because I had been in a relationship for a really long time. And then during COVID, that fell apart because I couldn't drive yet. So he and I couldn't see each other. So that fell apart. And we rediscovered each other almost once we got back to high school. But then even the hybrid days. So you got comfortable with the people that were on your hybrid day. A day, B day.
Right.
So when everyone came back together in the spring of 2021, that's when things kind of went downhill because everyone was so comfortable that no one knew how to talk to each other anymore. And I even got a little depressed during COVID because I missed the life that I had. And I knew, even at 15, I knew it was never going to be the same again. I knew that. I knew high school wasn't going to be the high school that I had grown up admiring with school spirit and spirit week. And everyone's hanging out after the football games on Friday nights and Friday night lights. And like all of that was going to change. And I knew that even at 15, which you've always said that I've been kind of ahead of the curve mentally. But I was able to recognize that really quickly. Now we became so reliant during COVID on socializing through social media that's how people know how to socialize. When you go into dating, it's not let me take you out to dinner tomorrow night. It's let me get your Snapchat. And then I just will send you pictures of myself all the time and hope that we end up together somehow. And it's like, Hey, newsflash, idiot. That's not how that effing works. Okay? Not how it works. And so socializing post-COVID is one of the most difficult hurdles that I have had to overcome. Because, like you said, you're an introvert. I'm an introvert. I'm just very social, a social introvert. I love being around people, but I will never complain if there's no plans for the night and I can just sit in my room and read or write, like,
Yeah.
so navigating that world where everyone became introverted is really, really difficult. And it just, even with COVID, the bullying that you went through in high school didn't stop because of social media. If you disagreed with somebody, they were still going to text you and fight with you about it. It just was a weird, weird time. And the fallout socially with my generation and Gen Alpha too is diabolical.
Who's Gen Alpha?
The one after us. So the elementary middle schoolers now are Gen Alpha.
Gotcha.
We're already in like generation beta at this point.
That's all nonsense.
I know. Every time I hear someone was born in 2010, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. But like when they're like, I watched a TikTok 2 days ago, and it was this like jewelry company going around, and they were asking people like, what age do you consider old? Or like, what year does someone have to be born for them to be considered old? This one girl goes 2004.
Then I'm
2004.
Then I'm The Walking Dead.
That's what I was thinking. Like immediately when I first heard the question, I was like, oh, like 1950. Like that's old to me because it's like that was forever ago.
Yeah.
She looks this girl dead in the eye and goes 2004.
Well, it's crazy.
I'm not even legal yet.
What's crazy is that's what COVID did though, right? For me, so
it warped time.
Yeah, so
it warped time.
Hearing you have to adjust socially is a bummer, right? Because high school is truly the best years ever, right? And anybody in high school or younger is like, that's crazy. College will be better. No, it's not. It's completely different.
I did struggle a lot in high school, though. The scandals that I went through personally.
Yeah, but I mean, just everything that COVID did to prevent a regular high school experience just is heartbreaking for me to hear. And, your cousin it was his senior year in high school or his junior year.
Yeah, it was his senior year.
Like it truly for me, it's like a different type of BC, right? Like,
yeah,
right. Like I'm like, oh yeah, that was totally just a couple years ago. And then they're like, no, that was 2019. I'm like,
was BC before COVID?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm like, whoa, like it's just a complete mind bender from a time perspective, right? Like it's been 5 years since what happened.
My gosh, it feels like it was 2 years ago, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, COVID, that was ages ago.
Right. Then because every once in a while I'll be on the grocery store and your mom and I'll be like, remember when they had the stupid arrows on the floor? Like you could only walk down this way. So dumb, dude. Like looking back, just crazy.
The line outside of Sam's Club.
Because they only let a certain number of people in. It's 1 billion square feet and they could only add.
It's a warehouse.
I was just I try and provide the best life I possibly can for you guys. This was totally out of my control and there was nothing I could do. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't, and even if I wanted to, I didn't want to subject ourselves or you guys to any sort of critique or criticism, right? Because I was like, yeah, go outside and ride your bike. But then then you get on the Facebook neighborhood page and be like, I can't believe somebody's outside, blah, 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 blah. And all these, I think that's where Karens were born and we're in COVID. Oh, yeah. But, you needed that and I couldn't give it to you and there was nowhere to go. And then even then when it started lessening, I remember posting, hey, hanging out with friends finally, and then having this disclaimer, don't worry, they took their temperature, they've been isolated.
We're 6 feet apart.
We're being responsible. Meanwhile, Ryan's 10 and just wants to kick a ball around or jump in the pool or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's just brutal. It was brutal. And so it bums me out. And but as a parent, unfortunately for a lot of us, I think, we almost had to compartmentalize what you guys were going through. There's not the same outlets even as an adult, and so when I think about that time, and this is an eye opener for me, and maybe there's some dads or parents out there that can relate, I don't even recognize in my memory what you and your brother were doing. Like, that's how self-absorbed I was on trying to figure out professionally, trying to figure out financially.
So my perspective was, I didn't really care. I was in an endless summer. That summer lasted forever. I was living my life. It was great. Like, I didn't even recognize if you were withdrawn at all. Because to be fair, I would wake up, I would eat breakfast, have my coffee, I'd go in the office, and I'd do my schoolwork first.
Yep.
Because Ryan always slept in later than I did at the time. And to this day, I would do my homework first, and then I would be out of the house all day. So, like, I didn't even really recognize. Where it was different, though, was when we went back to school. Again, I didn't even talk about this part, but it was still so isolating when we went back, because you're in rows and there's an empty desk in between each person. So, and there's not a person next to you. Like, that's how it was. So I'm sitting at this desk behind a shield. Can't even see the damn board. Can't even breathe. I can't even focus. I have no one to turn and like socialize with while it's going on. And then, they'd be like, turn and talk to your partner. What partner? My subconscious?
Right.
Are we serious? Like,
right.
So it was still so isolating. And I do still think that's where, education rates went down, because during that time, I couldn't even focus because I can't even see the board because I'm sitting next to this giant window. So all that's reflecting onto that shield is the board.
Right.
I can't even see it. So how am I supposed to focus on the lesson when I can't even write the notes? And I can't talk to anybody. And in the hallways, you weren't supposed to mingle. We had staggered release times at the very beginning of going back because they didn't want so many people in the hallway. Like, it was just so isolating. And that's why I think a lot of my generation finds comfort in isolation now. And as much as some of our generation, my generation, is very dependent because of that time, a lot of us are also very independent. And so that's also where there was another article released where it's like, oh, Gen Z is marrying later. Yeah, because guess what? I figured it all out by myself. Why am I going to waste my time on somebody who didn't figure it all out and is just going to waste my time? So I'd rather do it by myself than exhaust myself with another person. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, even though I still crave being in a relationship and getting married one day, of course I'm a girl, right? Like, I've dreamed about my Disney wedding since I was like 5 years old. So like, I do still want that, but that's why I'm so critical at the same time, where I'm like, I'm not going to beg you for your attention. You're not going to try to change how I do my life. You're either going to fit in and accept me as I am, or you're not going to fit in at all, So it's like, that's a lot of people's perspectives post-COVID, because it forced us to isolate and it forced us to grow up before we were ready. And that's why I think a lot of people my age struggle so much now that we're at the age that we were mentally at 15, because now we are adults and we're going, I don't know. Like, I thought I had this figured out. I thought I was independent enough to do this. I thought I understood the economy. I thought I understood this topic. And you're sitting there and you're going, I don't know. Right. Because you've been so used to being isolated and independent that now it's like, I don't want to work with that person. And I struggle with that in news sometimes too. I'm sure my news teacher will watch this and even attest to it. I've always been a little independent, but I'm also very headstrong. and it's something that I've had to work on. But I'm that's a word, isn't it? Headstrong?
It is. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Sarcastically.
Oh, I thought you were doubting my choice of words, but I've always been like the group leader, like elementary school, middle school, high school. If there was a group project, everyone was like, "So Lauren," and I was okay with that. But then in news, I was surrounded by all these people that were the same way.
Yeah.
So when we'd collaborate on a story and they'd be like, no, I don't agree with keeping that part in, I'd be like, I'll do this by myself, bitch. I don't need your input. Like, and so teamwork is something that my generation has had to relearn how to do because it was so isolating and forcing us to grow up early and forcing us to be independent. And that's where it ties into the time warp you were talking about.
Right.
Because in my brain at 15, I was forced to be independent and grow up because of COVID. That now that I'm 20, I'm like, shit, I knew more at 16 than I do now. I don't know what I'm doing. And now I don't want to be super independent because I have no one to turn to right now because I put myself in a bubble, you know? And especially with me, you guys never really, not in a bad way, but you guys never really paid attention. You paid more attention to Ryan and how he reacted to stuff because you knew from a young age that I was pretty adaptable.
Yeah.
And I could handle it. There were times where I wish I said something, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm still learning to do is call you and go, Dad, I need help. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like shit, like blah, blah, blah. That's something I'm still having to learn to do is be vulnerable. But part of that, you can't take all that on yourself because, especially with me, because I'd always been that kid where I was like, I got it. Like, leave me alone. Let me figure it out. So with me, you don't have to worry too much because it was partially my issue as well as not speaking up.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's a crazy time. It's a crazy time. I think we're all still trying to adapt to it. So, once again, not to try and be right, but I said many times I can pull up messenger message from people that I talked to, and those people that took the time to have a conversation because they might have felt differently than what I felt like, they messaged me. And that was cool.
Yeah.
Others just unfriended me or never talked to me again or I don't know, whatever. But I will stand by it. And this conversation just proves my point. The long-term ramifications of how we handled that has far lasting impacts than what it actually did, and now that's the big focus for the future is how do we bridge the gap that we created because we trusted things that turned out not to be true. We trusted direction that turned out not to be helpful. God only knows what this vaccine is doing to some people for their hearts and everything else that's coming out now. Right. And so it was a good topic to talk about. We could probably talk another 45 minutes about it because it's something that just was such a huge major event, right? But it's cool. I learned some stuff from you today. This is speaking from the parent's point of view. Hopefully, though, as you continue into your adulthood, that just makes you stronger, makes you more resourceful, makes you a better parent.
But thank you guys all for listening to this episode. I hope that it was enlightening. I know we kind of rambled a little bit when we got on the stand. But I hope it was a little bit enlightening to how it was handled between generations and how it affected our generations. If you guys ever have an idea of something you want us to cover or go, hey, I want to hear a dad's perspective on this topic or vice versa, just comment it, shoot us a text message, shoot us a DM if you want us to cover it, and we will. We're totally open to topics and feedback. So thank you guys all for listening again, and I hope we continue to keep your guys' attention. Love you. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll see y'all next week again.